summertime here in Anchorage, we only get about 3 to 6 hours of sunlight a day, which is not a lot. But if you go towards that region and the Nupiaq region, they only get about a period of anywhere from 60 to 80 days of no sunlight. So if you could just imagine being stuck in a room full of maybe about 30, 40 people without having any TV, Netflix, Hulu, stuff like that, you might go a little bit crazy without that. So during that time, we did these games to keep our bodies physically fit and also mentally fit. Because, living here in Alaska is a harsh environment, and these games help out with that. And we do anywhere from strength games to pain endurance games, survival techniques, hunting techniques, and just some games that have no point at all. Now, this first game that we'll do, John, he'll show you the motions. This is one of our survival techniques, and it is called the scissor broad jump. Now, for this one, it is a 4-step process. So if you watch his feet, he's going to start stationary from an imaginary line, and then from there, when he's ready, he's going to jump onto one foot. With his free leg, he'll scissor it, jumping back to his first foot, and then jumping and sticking his landing. Now for this one, we will go down towards the carpeted area and he'll show you in a more fluent motion. Uh, but this is a game that they do up north during the springtime when the ice starts to break up. So for this kind of game, this is what people do to jump across ice back then. And that's how it would look. And that is done in competition. So there is a record for that game. And when we do these games, again, you only get 3 tries at each distance or height, depending on the game. It just varies on what game you're doing. But for a game like that, the records for that game for the women, they set theirs at a distance of 29 feet and 1 inch. And for John, he was getting about that distance or even a bit further than the women's record. But for the men's world record, they set theirs at a distance of 37 feet and 5 inches. And I'm not too sure if you guys are familiar with the show The American Ninja Warrior, but the guy who holds the record, his name is Nick Hansen. So you guys might know him as the Eskimo Ninja. He is really good at that game, and if you do the math right, he is jumping a little over 9 feet per jump, which is pretty impressive. Now, for me and John, we have competed with him before, and every time he does that event, he jumps at least 36 feet, and he says he is not trying, which is pretty hard to believe because with me and John, we try hard as we can to get that distance, but we could barely get around 32 feet, 33 feet at least. But, you guys can look these games up on YouTube. Just look up Alaska Native Games. You'll see a lot of these games. But that was one of our survival techniques that we do. This next game that we'll do, we'll probably move on to the kickstand. This next game that we'll do for you is called the Alaskan high kick. So anything that involves this kickstand, we are going to go for height. He will lower the ball. This first game is called the Alaskan high kick. Now for this one, he's going to sit beneath the ball, place one hand behind his back as his base hand. With his free hand, grab his opposite foot. And with his free foot, he'll spring up and kick the ball. Now this is a game that we did demonstrate yesterday, but it is a really popular game. So for the ones who haven't seen it yet, this is what it looks like. Now it's just one of those games that might be a little bit more harder to get used to just because it's such an awkward motion.
So the Alaskan high kick is one of the hardest events for athletes to improve at because it's such an awkward body motion. And for the Alaskan high kick, we have a term called going vertical. It's when you go from that seated position into a one-handed handstand. So like Junior is showing you, but upside down. And today there are only about 100 male athletes who can go vertical, and there have only been like 5 or 6 or 7 women who could go into that one-handed handstand. So this game is very difficult.
Now, for this game also, this is just one of those games that have really no meaning to it. I'm pretty sure the person who came up with it was probably really, really bored. But when you do these games, if you guys like ever get into them, one of our favorite things about these games is when you go to these competitions, they involve a lot of sportsmanship in them. Because we go to these competitions not to compete against each other, but to compete against ourselves to get our personal best. So it's not like basketball where everybody talks bad about each other's mamas. Pretty good. Now, when we go to these competitions, like I said, they do involve a lot of sportsmanship. So when you see an athlete struggling, athletes will come up to you. They will give you tips on what you can do to improve your technique. So, like, even if athletes don't know you, they'll just come up to you and give you tips because they want to see you do better in these games. Pretty good. He makes it look pretty easy. This is one of his favorite games if you guys have not noticed. He is really good at it. Now, he is done with this event. For the women's world record, they set theirs at a height of 6 feet, 11 inches, which is just a little bit lower than this. And the girl who said it, her name is Autumn Ridley. She stands about 5'5". And for the men's world record, they set theirs at a height of 8 feet, which is right around this height. And the guy who set that, his name is Elijah Cabin Boy. He comes from Nome. He is a good friend of ours. He stands maybe about 5'11", maybe 6 foot on a good day. But he is really good at this event. And that was called the Alaskan high kick. This next game is a game for teamwork. This one is called the two-man high kick. Now, for this one, what me and John are going to do, one person is going to be the base. That'll be me. I'll have John on my back. We'll lock arms, and then from there, I will throw him up, and he will kick the ball. So that's what it looks like. It is too low for us, but we will keep going higher. Now, you normally do not see this game in competition, but you will see this kind of game more further up north in the Nupiaq region. But this is just one of those games that we love to demonstrate every now and then because, we do a lot like these games pretty much every day and we like to change it up all the time. So if you can't tell, me and John are really good at teamwork. We do trust each other, so that's why we're so good at this game. If he did not trust me, he would not let me throw him up. It did feel like he was going vertical, straight up and down. So it is pretty impressive when we do this kind of game. But that is pretty much as high as our kickstand goes. The height that we just kicked was about 9 feet, 9 inches. But for a game like that, for the two-man high kick with my cousin Manuel and David Thomas, they did kick about 11 to 12 feet, somewhere around there. But they are a lot taller than me and John are. But that was the two-man high kick. This next game that we will show you is pretty much the crowd's favorite again. We always like to end this one off with a good note. This one is called the 2-foot high kick. He will set the stand a bit further so that way we can have a running approach. Again, we start off low, work our way up until nobody can kick any higher. But for these kicking games, it's an athlete's preference if you want to wear shoes or no shoes. The only rules that we have on shoes is like I wear a size 8. I can't be wearing like a size 13. Otherwise, you're going to look like a clown and feel like one. But for John, he's going to get a running approach, jump off both feet, kick the ball with both his feet, and stick his landing. Just like that. Pretty simple. Just another Thursday for us. And again, we'll just keep raising the ball higher. But for this 2-foot high kick, it was a signaling event long time ago because we did not have radios or cell phones to text the village or call them and be like, hey, this is like if we caught a whale or not. So throwing both feet up in there, let the village know that you caught a whale. So you'd have your highest kicker go out to the highest point, and throwing both feet up in there would let the village know that you caught a whale. And the other way, once John's done kicking with 2 foot, he will demonstrate the 1-foot high kick. And throwing 1 foot up in there would let the village know that they did not catch a whale. But nowadays, we have cell phones, radios, so you just call them and you're like, hey, caught a whale, get your truck, let's bring in this whale. Pretty good. And that was pretty good for John. He's kicking above the girls' record. Since we have no girls up here, the girls' record for the 2-foot high kick, they set theirs at a height of 6 feet 7 inches, and that is held by a girl named Autumn Ridley again. But now, John, he's going to switch to other style. Instead of kicking with both his feet, he's going to kick with one. So whatever foot he kicks with, he has to land on that same foot. Now, the reason why this is pretty much everyone's favorite is there's no height advantage to these high kicking games. A lot of it has to do with your jumping ability and your flexibility. So for short people, sometimes they outkick the taller people, but it all just depends on your jumping ability and your flexibility. Now for John, he normally kicks without shoes, so it's kind of weird to see him wearing shoes, but I think he's just trying to get used to wearing shoes. But for some people, when they kick without shoes, it just makes them feel more aerodynamic. pretty good. So right now, the height that he just got done kicking was about 7 feet 7 inches at least. So you notice, John, he is stretching with these games. They do involve a lot of stretching because if you do not stretch, you will pull a muscle. But usually that's the only time you will get hurt in these games is if you don't stretch. Now, when you first start these games, you learn about muscles you didn't know about, so you learn to stretch every single muscle. But other than that, we really never get any injuries in these games. The only thing that gets hurt around here is hurt feelings, and that happens quite often. I think if he just took his shoes off, he would probably kick it. Like I said, he's not used to kicking with shoes, so it's pretty weird that he's wearing shoes. It does look like he might be taking them off. I'm not too sure. Yeah, he's taking them off. We do feel a lot better when we kick without our shoes, at least for me and John. Like I said, it's an athlete's preference if you want to wear them or not. But we're more comfortable not wearing shoes when we do these games, especially for these high kicking games. And for these games, they're always done on a hard wooden surface or a gym floor. So when we do these games, if you kick without shoes, you have to take your socks off because if you wear socks, you'll most likely slip. And also when you do these games in competition, they actually allow you to wear the moccasins. But I don't see why people wear them because they're just as slippery as socks. And those people are just weird a little bit. He's right there, right underneath the ball. Now, when we do these games in competition, we do have judges to watch. One judge to make sure you make contact with the ball so you can hit the ball as hard as you want or tickle the hairs of the fur. The other judge will be there to make sure you stick your landing on your 1 foot, and the last judge will be there to keep track of all your attempts and misses. You are. Now, when we do these, when we train, we always try to get it on our first try because those uh, misses that you get in competition will count against you later on. So we always try to get it on our first try. He is right there, but he looks like he is getting exhausted. Now, for me and John, we've been getting used to wearing our masks when we do these games. It is a lot easier without the masks. I think if we didn't have to wear them, he probably would have had it already. So just give him a second to breathe, and I'm sure he will kick it. Now, normally when we do these also in competition, you only have 3 tries, but when it comes down to your last attempt, if an athlete wants, usually we have a crowd there watching. Normally the athlete will start a clap and it'll just accelerate and get louder and usually pumps them up to kick the ball. You're right there again. You pass it a little bit. So I think we might be done with that game because it does take a lot of work, especially if you're the only one kicking, and he kicked at least 10 times by now. But for the records for this game, for the women, they set theirs at a height of 7 feet 11 inches, which is right around there. Now, in competition, they would not count that against him. If he did just jump straight up, they would not count against him. The only time they will count it against you is if you jump straight up and bend your knee a little bit. But yeah, he is done with that event now. Uh, Now, the men's world record for that game, they set theirs at a height of 9 feet 9 inches, which is at the top of our kickstand. Uh, the guy who set that record, his name is Tim Fields. I think he currently resides in Las Vegas. He likes to come up to Alaska every other year for that event, for the Canadian 1 foot high kick. Because we have different styles of doing the 1 foot high kick, and he likes to come up for that event. But for Tim Fields, I think he only stands about 5'11", and he kicked 9 feet 9 inches. Now, we'll probably show you another game that you guys can play at home with your siblings, or if you just want to feel competitive, this is a good game. Or even when you go out camping, it helps warm up your body. This game is best 2 out of 3, and it's called the balance push. Now, for this one, me and John will face each other. We'll put our feet together, elbows lengths apart. And the object behind this game is you're trying to knock your opponent over with just your hands. And this is a good game to use to decide who's going to do dishes that day. But that was the balance push. That's how that is done. That's a game we do just for fun. It's not done in any competition. But we will show you a strength game. This is what they do in the interior part of Alaska. They like to play strength games, and it's called the arm pull. Now, for me and John, we'll sit across from each other, interlace our legs, lock elbows, and from there, the only way you can win is if you pull your back to the floor, your back touches the floor, or you straighten your opponent's arm. And with your free hand, it has to touch the opponent's foot at all times. If it leaves at any time, then you lose. But this game is also best 2 out of 3. And that is a strength game. Now, traditionally for those strength games, you stay on the floor until you lost. So if you're really tough, that game could last up to 2 to 3 hours at least. But for me, I'm not that tough, so I'll probably only last like 5 people. But that is a strength game. This next game that we'll show you is called the handicap 1 foot. Now for this one, John, he will stay on the floor. He's going to use this leather strap. He'll put it underneath one leg, wrap it over his head, and then from there, he's going to lift his body up without using his hands on the floor, hop over to the ball, jump up and kick the ball with that 1 foot, stick his landing, and then sit back down. So it'll look just like that. And just like every other game that involves the kickstand, you start off low and work your way up. And with these games, they are a really good workout. We are sweating a lot if you guys have not noticed yet. But we like to call this our native Zumba. Now this game does get kind of scary, especially the heights we're starting to get at is starting to get above our head. Now, if we don't kick fast enough and our foot doesn't come down fast enough, we will land on our butts and that will not be fun. We could probably do one on one again. Yeah, we'll do one more. So we're going to be done with that game. That was called the handicap 1 foot. It was getting a little out of our comfort zone for me and John because we're just getting back into that game. We normally don't do it that often, but it is a really fun one. It does help strengthen your leg out pretty good. But for this last game that we'll do for you is a balancing game. It's called the one hand reach. Now John will get underneath the ball, place one hand underneath his elbow underneath his hip, balance his whole body on that one arm with his free hand, reach up, touch the ball, and maintain balance throughout the whole time. So no other body part is touching the floor, besides his base hand and his reaching hand. Now, this is one of those games that we find really easy and kind of lazy because all you're trying to do is balance. It may look hard for some people, but once you get the technique down, it's really easy. The way I like to explain it is like once you learn how to balance on a bicycle, it's really easy. And it's kind of hard not to forget how to ride a bike. So that's kind of how this game is. If you haven't done it in years and you have the technique down, it's pretty easy to get back into right away. But you might see, again, there might be a height advantage to this game. But height will only get you so far in these games. A lot of it has to do with your technique. If you don't have good technique, you probably won't reach that high. Now, we do have different hand positions for this game that you can use. The first one that everyone starts out with is their basic flat palm. So if you look at John's hands, he'll show you how we use those other hand positions. The next one is called going on your fist, where all your weight's on your knuckles. Last one is called going bridge, where your fingers are bent at a 90-degree angle and all your weight's on your forearm and thumb. Now, doing those other ways, they do give you a higher reach, but they both come with a pain, but it is worth it in competition. But you have to practice these before you end up doing them. Otherwise, you're going to hurt yourself. So if you guys paid close attention that time, John did do it on his fist. And it did look a little painful, but you have to get used to it over time. Otherwise, you won't be able to do it. Now, normally in competition, they will raise the ball in the 4-inch increment, but since we're here at the center, we raise it however high. But this will be the last height that John will reach. But the women's world record for this game, they set theirs at a height of 5 feet, 2 inches. Good try, but the men's world record for this game was set at 5 feet, 10 inches, and the guy's name is Bernard Clark, comes from Wasilla. But this will be the end of our demonstration. I hope you guys enjoyed our performance, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching.